Just gonna let Eric.
What?
Lemons went over there. If you got more, just take them over there. She distributed at her own church. Naomi. He wants to get rid of them.
Is Reverend Matt on?
Reverend Matt is
No, not yet.
Kelly, can you not start the recording until the service actually starts? Because then you get all these conversations before the service starts.
okay.
Please place your palms together for silent meditation.
Namu Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namu Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namu Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu.
Good morning and welcome to today's February Shotsuki Hoyo service and Nirvana Day service. My name is Lois Kashiwase, and at this time I would like to welcome Reverend Matt Hamasaki from the Sacramento Betsuin, and he will be conducting today's service. We will begin today's service with opening meditation in Nambutsu. Please place your palms together and gasho. Death is not destruction, annihilation, or disappearance. Rather, it is freedom with experience at death. Perfect total freedom, freedom to go on, and its liberation from suffering. I am often reminded of the fact that the sutras put the Pure Land in the west. When the sun sets in the west, this is likened to death. But in the morning, after its seemingly total disappearance, the sun appears again. So it is always like that. It goes away and comes back. And so it is with the Pure Land. All who go there keep coming back, manifesting in every possible way for the benefit of others. So that really there is nobody in the Pure Land. This is by Reverend Hozen Seki. Namo Amidabatsu. Namo Amidabatsu. Namo Amidabatsu. At this time, Reverend Matt will recite the Sambujo and the Hiwakamon, or dedication, followed by the chanting of the Jusege.
The members of the Florin Buddhist Church Sangha have gathered here today to observe the memorial of the passing of the Buddha Shakyamuni, the sage of the Shakyas. His last words to us were, "Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Seek emancipation in the truth. Look not for assistance from anyone beside yourself. Rely on yourself and do not rely on external help. All component things are subject to decay and death. Consider the thing called self. Think of its transiency. How can you fall into delusion about it and cherish pride and selfishness, knowing that they all end in inevitable suffering? Be always thinking about the transiency of your life. You will be able to resist greed and anger and will be able to avoid all evils. Aman dabs naman dabs naman dabs. I'll now read the Shotsuki names for the month of February. Abe Shige, Fujii Ted Satoru, Hua Mabel Kikue, Goishi Tomeyo, Hamamoto Toichi, Hayama Alice Kyoko, Hayashi Mika, Hayashida Tadao, Hiraga Tomitaro, Hirakawa Sumiko, Honda Kazuma, Imahara Toichi, Ishii Fukuji, Ishii Tane, Ito Rose Harumi, Itonaga Kimie, Itonaga Miki, Kanemaru Junosuke, Kanemoto Yuriko, Kato Masashi, Kishaba Kame, Kao Ritsu, Kurima Herbert M, Kushi Masako, Maeda Toki, Masuda Yayoyo, Matsui Kichigoro, Matsui Noboru, Menda Albert, Mitsuyoshi Katsumi, Miao Tokumatsu, Nakamura Takamichi, Nakamura Yuki, Nakashima Yusuke, Nakashima Lester T, Nishi Kikuyo, Nishi Yaichi, Nishimoto Itsu, Noda Alice Shizuko, Noda Tokutaro, Nozawa Sugimatsu, Okamoto Matsu, Okamura Sekichi, Otani Masayuki Walter, Sakamoto Tatsukichi, Sasaki Tadashi, Sato B. Shoichi, Shibao Shieko, Shintaku Isao, Shishido Melvin Takeshi, Sumida Shigeru, Takehara Alvin, Takehara Daryl, Takehara Kazuo, Takeoka George, Tanaka Yoshimatsu, Taniguchi Frank Ben, Tanihara Kyoto, Tanihara Mei, Tonai Reiko Moria, Tsukamoto Beatrice M, Tsukamoto Infant, Uchida Isaku, Umeda Mrs., Watanabe Teddy Osamu, Yamaoka Tony, Yoshihara Shozo. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Anda Butsu. Namo Anda Butsu. Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzo sefu jodo ががおむりょこ不意大世襲不災小便具政府上昇ががし成仏の妙所長実法不教未証門政府上昇が利欲人少年上映修凡行しぐ無浄土一生天人し陳力縁大公無所無才道少女三苦名交際主役難回避知恵言名詞根門案閉塞小悪のつらつ全宗門高僧上満蔵異様の実本日月春十期天候音符言一種解放像公正苦毒を上王大集中説法ししく不要一切物具足習徳音元年質上満得意三害音女仏無下地つらつ未不詳願悪縁に投資最小尊志願や効果大戦を観の国書天人東内妙見ナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムナマンダムがんにしくどく平等聖祭道も大心往生安那
At this time, we will listen to the Gatha on Dokusan 2, sung by Merv Maruyama. Please join Kathy Minda in reciting the Golden Chain 2.
Golden Chain 2. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu.
Reverend Matt will now give his Dharma message.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Nirvana Day and Shotsuki service. So for Nirvana Day, we are commemorating the passing of the Buddha, which sounds kind of like a sad thing, right? But we actually don't see it as something as terribly sad and almost something worth achieving. Not that we're rushing to pass away, but this importance of nirvana within, of course, the Buddhist tradition and what it means to each of us. So I was thinking to myself, what exactly is nirvana? And as with pretty much any word that I think about, whether it's English, Japanese, or in this case, Pali, I always like to look at kind of the root or the etymology of the words that we are using in order to figure out what the maybe deepest, most important, or at least some insight into the meaning of them. So to understand nirvana, first we have to look at a different word, the word for attachments. So attachments is a word that's been translated from the Pali, and to look at the understanding of that, we have to go back also to earlier in the Buddhist life where he gave his first 3 sermons. Okay. So in his first sermon, which after attaining enlightenment, I think everyone is very familiar with that one. He teaches of the 4 Noble Truths, which end in the Eightfold Noble Path, right? So everyone's familiar with that one. In his second sermon that he gives, he talks about no self or not self. He goes through all of the different faculties that each person has and explains that none of them inherently exist, and so there is nothing really that we can point to call a self. And now to the third one, which I wanted to talk about today, which is often called the fire sermon, or the a flame, or this kind of sermon. And the reason why he talks about it is because of this sort of wordplay that the Buddha has. And this wordplay only makes sense in Pali, because the word for attachment also is the same word for fuel, right? So he uses this metaphor of burning, or everything's on fire, because the fuel that feeds these fires is the attachments. So the sermon goes a little something like this. He's talking to his followers, the monks, who says, "Monks, all is a flame." What is a flame? The eye is a flame, forms are a flame, consciousness is a flame. Wherever there is dependent experience, there is flame, there is fire. And with this fire is the fire of passion, the fire of aversion, the fire of delusion. So this is what eventually becomes known as the 3 poisons. So this is the first time we hear about it, is actually in this third sermon. The Buddha says, a flame, I tell you, with birth and aging, with death, with sorrows, lamentations, pain, distresses, and despairs. And so he begins talking about the eyes, and that the eye is a flame, meaning that whenever we have some kind of eye contact, right? We see something, immediately we have this consciousness, which makes us think, oh, I like this, oh, I don't like this, oh, I'm neutral. And each of these things have some kind of attachment that we are clinging to. And he goes through all the different senses. So he says the ear is a flame, all sounds are a flame. The nose is a flame, aromas are a flame. The tongue is a flame, flavors are a flame, and then the body is a flame. Tactile sensations, touching is a flame. And then he finally gets to intellect, where intellect is a flame, ideas are a flame, consciousness is a flame. Wherever there's this dependent consciousness, then when we experience in our mind, in our body, pleasure, pain, or neither pleasure nor pain, that too is a flame. And again, it's a flame with the three poisons. And so seeing this, the Buddha then instructs his disciples that you must be disenchanted with the eye, with the form, with eye contact, right? And he goes through again all these things. You have to grow and disenchanted with the ear, with the nose, with the tongue, with the body, and then finally again, pattern after the previous part, you have to become disenchanted with intellect, disenchanted with ideas, with consciousness, with contact. Anytime you are experiencing this kind of pleasure, pain, or neither pleasure or pain, that too, you have to grow disenchanted. And in doing so, then you are released, and then birth is ended, your life is fulfilled, the task is done, there is nothing further for you in this world. And this is kind of where this idea of nirvana comes from. So if everything is a flame, and what is feeding this flame is the fuel of our attachments, then the way to get rid of that is to get rid of the fuel, right? If something is burning, if it has nothing else to burn, then it will cease to burn, correct? Right? And oftentimes nirvana is likened to blowing out a candle. So if you blow out a candle, right, then the candle goes out in the flame. But this is a little bit different than what nirvana is, because there isn't anything that's blowing. There isn't an action that's getting rid of the flame. And in fact, if you think about it, blowing on a flame would actually make it worse, right? If it wasn't just a candle. If you're trying to start a fire as like, a Boy Scout or something, and then you want to blow on it to get the fire going, right? And in the same way, right, when the wildfires are going, when there's this big heavy wind, then it makes it even worse. So having this action of blowing is actually maybe incorrect in terms of our understanding of nirvana. And rather, it would be to get rid of, again, of this fuel. I was trying my best to come up with some kind of English equivalent to this, because it's kind of incredible, I feel like, how the Buddha used attachment and fuel in the fire. I thought it was a really good example. But the closest thing I could come to was like, if we have attachment or clinging, right, is how it's translated, and if something was like adhered to you, and when I was thinking of like things that are clinging to you, I could just think of if you have like a loose piece of cling wrap and it starts to hang onto your hand, you try to shake it off and nothing's coming off. Or like a dryer sheet or something that's stuck to your back. that I feel like it doesn't evoke the same emotion as being entirely engulfed in flames. So the closest thing I could think of was, imagine you're covered in something like sticky. And maybe it's because I've been watching a lot of Winnie the Pooh videos with my daughter, but imagine like honey. I feel like honey is a good like sticky substance. In my head, I have the image of Pooh floating down this like river of honey, and it's just covered in it. So imagine yourself covered in honey. I don't know about you, but it feels pretty gross to me, even just like thinking about it. It doesn't feel very good. But if you're covered in this honey, and the only way to get yourself out of this honey is to get rid of it, right? So to kind of get it away, and instead of like the fire burning all like the fuel, there's just like more and more honey like being dropped onto you. But the one who's dropping the honey onto you is yourself. So imagine that sense where like you just keep pouring more and more honey on yourself, and you want to get not so sticky, but it's sticking to you, it's clinging to you, and the only thing that can make you stop is yourself. Is if you stop pouring all this honey on yourself. I don't know. I don't know if that worked. But anyway, just think of the idea of you have these attachments, and the only way to get rid of the attachments is to cut them off, is to get rid of it. It isn't to add more or put more things on it. And so Nirvana is this way, where we're trying to cut ourselves off from the attachments, and in doing so, we then attain this, or it's said that we attain something, we get this nirvana. But again, this is kind of this mistake of thinking about it, where nirvana isn't something that you attain, it's something that happens when you get rid of everything that's causing your suffering. So a little bit of a different nuance in our understanding of nirvana, but I feel like it is a very important one in understanding that we don't get this kind of nirvana. We don't find it, we don't grab it, we don't attain it, we don't have it and then hold on to it. Rather, nirvana is really more understood as the absence of something. And if we're going off of if we're going off of this flame sermon, we're going off of the three poisons, it means living without those kind of understandings, without those kind of emotions of the greed, the anger, the ignorance. And how we get rid of them is separating ourselves from the clinging that we have to things that we like, and the aversion to things that we don't like. So as a monk, their whole way of life is geared towards having that kind of lifestyle. It's a little bit different for us as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists because we can't just cut ourselves off from all the things, right? We have to live our lives, we have to watch Netflix, we have to go out and eat like foodies. We live in a world where we are surrounded by these things that we find are either pleasing to us or displeasing to us, and sometimes neutral. Sometimes meals are just kind of like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And that's okay, right? This is what we're taught as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, is that if that is a lifestyle that we have to live, then that's okay. But what would help us with our suffering and our understanding of the world is if we cease to try to have that clinging to us. So, imagine instead of like, I don't know, the honey running over you, if it's like, a shower or something, where the water comes onto you and it just goes right off. So if we allow our sensations, our feelings to be in that way, where they aren't sticking to us, clinging to us, but rather we feel them, we understand them, and then they're gone and we move on to the next thing, then that will allow us to be happier in our lives. Now, it isn't necessarily nirvana as it is as we understand the Buddha was able to achieve it, and really full nirvana would be passing away, because then there is really nothing else to interact with the world. But if we have that as kind of a guide for us to live our lives, then it will influence us in such a way that we can get, maybe a glimpse or at least on the same path as the Buddha had, trying to understand the world without attachments and thus lessening our suffering so that we can live the most deep, meaningful, and happy way. Okay, I'll now read the letter on white ashes. In silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting in this world than the life of man. Thus, we have not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life passes swiftly, and few among men can maintain the reform for even 100 years. Whether I go before others or others go before me, whether it be today or tomorrow, who is to know? Those who depart before us, ours is countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening, we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever, and when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Though loved ones may gather and lament, everything is to no avail. The body is incendied to an open field, and it vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than this truth of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and the old. Therefore, we must, one and all, turn to the teachings of the Buddha Dharma and awaken to the essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us realize the unaccepted value of this existence and let us live together with gratitude in our hearts. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Okay, if you could all please join me in reciting our pledge by Monshu Kojun Otani. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay. Now at this time, we'd like to celebrate the February birthdays. Please raise your hand to be recognized for your birthday if it's in February. Oh, Eric too, all right. Happy birthday. Okay. We will now close today's service with meditation and Nimbutsu. Please join me in placing your palms together in Gasho. There are some who bring a light so bright to the world that even after they have gone, the light remains. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. At this time, if anybody has any announcements, please unmute and share your announcement. I have some. Okay, the next service is February the 20th. It's the Kisaragi, the Lady Takeko Kujo Memorial Service, and it's at 10:30 via Zoom. And today, the gift cards, if you want to order gift cards, you need to contact Ann Tsukumoto today. I think it was by 8 o'clock tonight. The Locomoco drive-through fundraiser is March 19th. Orders are due March 10th, and they need to be sent to Eric Fuji's home address. Info is in the newsletter and on the church website, I believe. Hanamatsuri and the April Shotsuki Memorial Service will be Sunday, April 10th at 11 o'clock, and it will be held outdoors. Following the service, the temple will be, following the service, the temple time capsule will be buried, and a complimentary obento box will be available for Sangha members attending the service. So it is very important that you RSVP by March 19th for seating and the complimentary obento. The information is in the newsletter, and the RSVP, if you want to email, will go to Sharon Okamoto. I think it's sharon@okamoto.com. And what we need is your the contact person's name, an email address, and a phone number, and how many will be attending. And see. And the other thing is the temple is considering starting a minister's assistant or lay assistant program under the guidance of Reverend Matt and Reverend Patty Oshta. So if you are interested or just curious about the program, please contact Peggy Okabayashi. We encourage everyone to participate. The last thing is the Buddhist Church of Florin 2022 membership dues are now payable. The membership form is on the Oneness, the church website, and I believe there may have been some forms sent out to some members. That's all I have. In closing today's service, I would like to thank Reverend Matt Hamasaki and the Golden Chain Reader, Kathy Menda, for today's service. Special thank you to Kelly Gartman as our Zoom technician. Thank you for attending today's Shotsuki, Hoyo, and Nirvana Day service. Have a nice weekend.